What's the deal? I'm back with a video. As you can tell, it's going to be a coding video from the title. Yes, I'm shirtless. You will see me shirtless often. I am sorry ahead of time. I'm in the comfort of my home. I always like to take my shirt off when I get home. I've been like this since I was a kid. You can ask my parents, ask anyone that's knew me since I was young. But speeding past that, for those real quick who didn't watch my intro video, which is cool, part of the reason I'm making this YouTube channel is to kind of give me a space to put out these passion projects or start these ideals that I've had in my head for some time, and I just need to put out there and actually follow through and do. So one of these things is learning how to code better, and yes, starting that process of that. So that's what it's going to be, basically, is me starting some projects and, you know, you seeing the journey. Maybe it'll help you too if you're trying to start your journey on that too. And yeah, that's really what it is. I went to school for computer science. I didn't go the typical route of, you know, going straight from high school to college. I mean, I did, but then I dropped out for a long time. Then when I'm going back and finishing through. While I was finishing through, I was doing IT work, and I still am, for a company, for this oil and gas company here in Houston. And once I graduated, I decided, you know, why not pursue some of this coding stuff to see if I end up liking it even. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to end up liking it, but, you know, how would you know if you don't try? So, long story short, I talked to my manager, and he ended up setting up a meeting with my VP himself and my director. We all went to lunch. It was just me and my higher ups, basically. Kind of awkward, but shout out to my manager for that. He was real cool for that. And I think they knew what this meeting was going to be about. It was like in celebration of me graduating, because I was there for some years while I was going to school to finish. So they knew I was, or at least my manager knew that's what I was doing. So set up the meeting, had a conversation with them. You know, they started off with the, you know, congratulations, but what's next? Like, where do you want to go now inside of this company? You know, do you want to stick with IT? Or are you trying to look for something else, whatever? So I told them, explained, you know, the same thing. You know, I would like to try out some coding, see, you know, if that's a possibility. They gave me another manager's name, said, hey, honestly, and that's why I'm telling y'all this, just so maybe this will help somebody who may be in a similar position at some point. Here's the manager's name. He has some people that code under him. Shoot him an email. Let him know you just graduated, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of scary, but I did anyway. So I went ahead, typed the manager's name, and then explained, you know, hey, I just graduated with this and that. You know, I'm looking to grow within the company for this, whatever. I want to, you know, try out coding. So he responded actually pretty quickly and was like, hey, dude, just look at my calendar, set up some time, and then come see me in my office, whatever. We'll have a chat. So I was like, okay. So set schedule, went over there, had a chat with him. Started off normal. First, he was, you know, asking, you know, how I was, you know, congrats on graduating, how I felt, you know, what I've been doing since I graduated, because it had been like a couple months after I graduated that I spoke with him. And yeah, I had a conversation with him, told him, you know, in a way, it wasn't an interview, but, you know, I was kind of treating it a little bit like an interview. I mean, it was a really relaxed conversation, but I made sure to throw in there, you know, that, you know, yeah, I'm still trying to, you know, teach myself some things that I'm passionate about. Told him about the site called udemy.com that I use. Turns out he uses Udemy before, or he used it before. I don't know if he still uses it, but he used it before or whatever. So we connected on that. You know, he asked me, you know, what projects I've made before, which I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I haven't really made any projects. Told him the same thing. And because I didn't want to be in a position of acting like I knew more than I did and then be stuck in there. And so I was real straight up with him, and I think that gave him the comfortability to be straight up with me. So he told me, like, hey, okay, well, what languages do you know? I told him, and he was basically like, okay, well, this is what we use here. These are the languages we use here. And here's some concepts. He wrote out some concepts. He's like, look, you said you use Udemy. Angular is what we use on the front end side of things. This is a course I took myself, he was telling me, on udemy.com to learn Angular. So why don't you take this course, learn these concepts with C# and with async programming and all that, and SQL, because the database we use, and then come back to me, and then, you know, we'll see what we can do. So Fast forward now, I finished the Udemy course, my first Udemy course I've ever finished, and I have a lot of courses under my profile, because if you know me, you know that it takes something out of me to start and complete something without being distracted by something else I want to get into. So that's just how I am as a person. But anyways, I finished my course, first one on Udemy, and now I did a 4-hour YouTube video on C#, really brushing up some of the concepts, whatever, and the syntax and all that. I didn't know C# before, but I taught myself C++ while I was going through college, and C# is very similar to C language, so there's only a couple of things here and there that are different, but I was able to watch that at 1.5 speed, finish that with like 2-3 days, and now I'm looking into the async part with the C# programming to learn that piece and SQL. I found another Udemy course that was on sale for like $15 that said it incorporated some C# async programming with was ASP.NET Core, I think it's called, and some SQL stuff. I don't know how in depth it goes into it, but it's like a 10-hour course, I think 11-hour course. So I'll take it, see how it goes. If I need to learn more in depth in these some of the concepts, then I'll find YouTube videos for that. But that's where I'm at. So I'll try to make some videos on what I learned from those to keep on track with that too. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do that yet, but for now I want to start a project to try to like practice what I've learned on the front end with Angular. And so yeah, that's what this video is going to be basically. So I'm starting off with I think the video I want to do is, or the application I want to make, sorry, is a kind of I don't know what to call it, but like a tasks management application to try to help me out with my journey anyways. Why not build something to help me out? So I want to kind of build on that to build on the front end stuff I've learned with Angular. And also my HTML and CSS are complete shit because I didn't learn it themselves. While I was learning Angular, I was also, while using Angular, that's how I kind of was learning HTML and CSS. I know it's not the best, but practice makes perfect. So I figured, while I'm in this mode of building out this application on the front end things, whatever, by chance I'll be learning some more HTML and practicing more CSS stuff for styling. So, and I'm not afraid of using, I don't want to put it out there that I'm gonna be a vibe coder and like that. I don't necessarily want to do that, but the company does. I spoke with a manager and he said they use Copilot right now, and there's extensions for that for VS Code, and they use that a lot to help them out with coding. And so I want to try to use that to help me out on things when I get stuck on something, but I also want to try to learn to do it myself. I don't want to be one of those that always has to go to the ChatGPT and all that stuff. So, but we'll see the balance on that. So we'll see how I make videos on my process of learning the more back-end stuff, whatever. But for now, we'll make a video on the front end stuff and building out a project. So yeah, task management project, adding tasks for either for the day or for learning in the future, whatever, setting due dates, checking off a task list, adding tasks. That's kind of the ideal I'm getting at. So first, before we get into any coding, I'm trying to do this as professionally as possible, because if I'm gonna be doing this as a job, whatever, I want to kind of mirror that. So before I get into coding, I think the first thing I want to do is kind of list out the ideals I have for this program, and kind of in my head, or actually write it down. I don't want to do it in my head. Write down the different components I think I'm gonna need, the services I'm gonna need, and things like that. So that's what this video is gonna be. And so let's get to some coding. Or let's not coding, sorry. Let's not get to coding yet. Let's get to some planning. I bet. All right, guys, we're back. I actually already made part of this part until I realized that my camera was like faced the wrong way. It's a whole ordeal. We're in the beginnings parts, but basically what I have pulled up is I'm using this little Wacom device. I don't know what it's called. I don't know how to say it, but I bought this a while ago to get into drawing more. Obviously I haven't done that yet. That'll be down the line. Maybe we'll do some like doodles or whatever. Y'all can judge me on my drawing skills, but for now, this is good for me to take my notes that I'm doing. I'm using this little Krita free service that was using a doodle also sometimes, but we'll use it to take notes. So basically this part is, yeah, this is day 0. Okay, so building the program, and the part is basically we're trying to lay out the way, or show the way the layout is going to be. Maybe think of like some components that we'll need, the list of stuff. Obviously this stuff will evolve over time once we're actually getting to the program, and maybe we'll switch where things are around and all that, but this is just to get something on paper so I kind of have an idea of what I'm building. I want to try to make this as like professional as possible, since I will be trying to do this in a professional setting soon. So I don't want to just go and start just coding crazy and then have to like go back and, you know, oh, I need a service for this, or I need this for that. So I'm trying to think this out. I'm trying to learn better. So we're learning together. Where's that picture I took? So I went ahead and actually what I did already was okay, ignore all of this. Where's my damn, y'all see all this So I went ahead and already screenshot this. This is I can't write, all right guys, so just bear with me. But it's task management program. The title will be somewhere in the middle, you know, we'll have like some color going around it basically, and then we'll just list out the tasks on the left side. Have a big, for now, a big add task button right there. You click the add task button, it makes a form, and the form, you know, will have like the stuff for you to enter, the information we want entered, and it'll have a submit button. You hit the submit button, it'll create a task on the left side, and then it'll turn into an add task, and you know, that's kind of the loop of the project I'm thinking of. Okay, so that's just that. All right, ignore the bad drawings and stuff. Now what I did here is I'm trying to list out the services, or the things, the different components we'll need for the actual program, right? So we have a little layout kind of, and I'm trying to think through. So what I thought was, okay, we'll need the task service to hold all the information for the task, right? Just to make the code clean. I'm trying to practice, you know, better coding. So in this task service, it'll hold an array of the tasks. So that way it could be you know, pull, firstly, for it to be added. When someone hits the add button to add a task, whatever, it adds it somewhere. So it's going to have this array of tasks. Probably going to make it a private array of tasks, and then have it like a read-only version of it that we can actually manipulate from the components, but we'll see. We're gonna need an add task method in there in order for someone to add a task to the array, or move tasks, or remove a task from the array. And so far, I think that's the only like functionality I can think of right now that we'll need in the services. For component wise, we'll need a task. We'll also need a task model, probably, to model how we want the task to be built. So like a title for the object, yeah, for basically have the task object to be made. So like a title, due date, maybe description of the task, you know, stuff like that. So that'll be in this task model form, right? Then we'll have the task form that will hold the actual form of the task when we want a user to add a task, you know, to have the form for them to input information on. We'll have a task list, which will be the thing that holds the list of the tasks, or that shows the list of the tasks, right? And then we have like, I don't know what to call it yet, but I was just saying individual tasks, which was like how each individual task is going to be built out and look like, basically. Okay, that's the idea for the task. I don't think there's much else for the task that I can think of. So that's kind of the gist of what I'm getting for the components. Okay, there's not much else that I can think of that I want. And of course we have our app component, that component which will hold and connect all this stuff together, right? It'll be the beginning of the tree that'll branch off to everything else. Okay, so that's kind of the ideal of what I can think of right now. Yeah, this is just day 0. Again, we're trying to start off with thinking of ideals of what we will need. That way we can kind of speed up some of the coding process, so we're not just like trying to think of all this at once while we code, because I tend to do that when I've tried to code before, is that I just start coding and then I have to think of this and think of that. But again, so the next video we'll start off the actual coding, and maybe we'll start off something easy just to get some easy wins, just to start the motivation process for myself. So we may just start on like the title and see where we go from there. Depending on how far we get the title, maybe we start some of the other services, maybe build out the task service, who knows. But I do want to start with a title, that way we have something visually to start off with, that we can have like, oh, we made this is cool. So until then, I'll see you next video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff.